Good morning, everybody. My name is Deborah Byrne from Deborah Byrne Psychology Services, known, of course, social media as DBpsychology. Where would we be if Facebook Live didn't break down at least once, twice, or three times while you're trying to do it? I don't know. All I want for Santi this year is proper Facebook Live. So if anybody knows how to do it, please let me know. And as I was saying earlier, I'm talking about happiness today and coping with happiness and how difficult people can find happiness as an emotion. The one thing I will say to you is that we see an awful lot on social media, and that we think that people have better or happier lives than we do. And I just want to remind people that what you see is only the best of what people want you to see. They are not putting up the reality of their lives. There are very few people who would actually put up the reality of their lives. It's a self-preservation thing. Nobody wants to do that. So, as I was saying, if you've had grief, if you've been in an abusive relationship and you've gotten out, if you've had high levels of stress to do with work or home life, or your particular situation, if you've had a mental illness, if you had depression, anxiety, and those have been around for a while, when things start to resolve themselves, happiness can be something that is a bit of a surprise, a bit of a shock, and can cause fear and anxiety, and cause us to retreat when it first arrived. Sometimes it can be as simple as walking down the road and you suddenly realise that I'm happy, I'm content, things are okay, things are starting to get okay again. And that can be very frightening. It can also be shameful, and you can also feel guilty. It depends, as I said, on the situation. The guilt and the shame can usually occur if you have been grieving for somebody and you've entered into the stage of acceptance, and you realise, one day you might wake up and you feel I'm content with my life. And that can cause an awful lot of shame. It can cause guilt. And then you can also, if you've been anxious and depressed, or as I said, in an abusive relationship, if you've been very highly stressed at work and things have resolved themselves, they're more likely to cause, the happiness then that you might feel, or contentment you have with your life at that point when things have resolved themselves or starting to resolve themselves, can cause fear, and you will retreat back into what you know. You'll look for more stressful situations, or you'll retreat back. You'll just mentally retreat back. Because the previous situations were your comfort zone, they became your comfort zone. And you're now stepping out of that comfort zone. You've gone through a period of turmoil, and, as change does, that's what happens when we change. We go through this period of turmoil, and then we land into a new area of our lives, a new beginning in our lives, and we feel content, we feel happiness, and when we realize that, we get a bit of a shock, and that's okay. That's okay. As I was saying a bit earlier, researchers, of course, there's always going to research. They will research anything, absolutely anything. So, they have gone out and they've tried to define happiness and what it is. And what they've come up with is, happiness is life satisfaction, positive and healthy coping resources, and positive emotions. That's what they define happiness is. They've also come up and said that happiness precedes and predicts positive outcomes. So it's not as a result of something you have done. It actually is there beforehand. You may not realise it, but it is actually there. Now, in the blog, I talk about tracking your emotions. It's very important to track your emotions if you're having difficulty with one particular emotion, and sometimes if you're having problem with finding happiness, perhaps you can, or you feel you're finding difficulty in finding happiness. I have listed out a number of things you can do, but I've also listed out a way of tracking how you can track that emotion. The only thing I would say to you is, remember, everybody, perfectly normal to have ups and downs in your life. Nobody is a happy 100% of the time. That would be completely weird and not normal, okay? Even during the day, we will all have ups and downs. We are not going to be happy 100% of the time. It's an overall life satisfaction, okay? It's overall. It's not happy or everything else is bad. It's not content or serene or peaceful and everything else is bad. We need, as human beings, it is normal for us to have a huge variety of emotions on a daily basis. We need that. We need to learn from them. And they give us the variety that our life has. So embracing them, in fact, embracing the negative, what we contend is the negative, with what we contend is the positive, is going to give you a better outcome and better life satisfaction. So having said that, how would you build happiness? Okay, going to go through the usual suspects. Always, and I will always say it again, self-care is the basis of your foundation for the house called you. I've said it a number of times. It is always there. Self-care. You have to take care of yourself. You have to feed and nourish yourself. And I mean, not just on a physical level, but also on a spiritual level. It has to be mentally feed yourself in order to be able to help other people. If you're running on empty, you're not serving anybody. You're definitely not serving yourself. You're being, your boundaries are skewed and you're completely, you're being walked all over. So you're walking all over yourself. You're showing yourself disrespect. So please try and get the basics right. And if you don't know where to find those, check out my blogs. It's at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservice.com. Of course, in the last few weeks, I've talked about gratitude, your journaling, your positive thinking, deleting negative thinking, and doing a life review, doing just even a priorities review. And you can get a priorities review sheet on my website, on my resources page. And it shows you how to do it. Deleting negative people, that's a big one. Okay, delete negative people, get them out of your life. Know your own strengths, and then also read about it. Read about building happiness. Read positive things. Instead of just reading and listening to the news, which is, negativity sells, as they say, or just reading your social media feed. Step away from those and go hunt down some positive resources. There are positive newspapers out there. There are positive blogs. There are positive podcasts.